Tuned into the Shadowsphere. Welcome to the Shadowsphere, where the whispered truth comes in loud and clear. Laugh in the dark as the clues appear. Yeah, we shine that light in the Shadowsphere.
Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the Shadowsphere. Scals, hit record.
Welcome back to episode 12 of the Shadowsphere. Today, I am joined by a man who's leaving his blood all over the Ontario indie scene. He is the mess maker. He is that Kyle. What is going on, my guy? Welcome back.
How are you? Saw you at the Crazy 8. It was good to meet you in person.
Yeah, man, it was great. You know, I was a little intimidated by you in person. I'm not going to sit there and lie.
Why?
I don't know. Like, maybe a little starstruck. Like, I've had conversations with you, but like, I'm not going to say marked out, but like seeing a lot of you face to face was kind of like a mark out moment for me, right? So,
right on. I can't say the same, but that's okay.
Hey, nobody marking out over this, bro. Come on, let's be real. Not even the ladies these days. But anyway, no, man. And it was Crazy 8 was my first in-person event, like as a death match as a whole. The card was great from top to bottom. Just watching you perform live and doing the shit you do, man, it's crazy. And I appreciate that you put your body on the line for entertainment, man.
Oh, sure. Why not? You know, like I don't have the body of Randy Orton. I don't have the wrestling style of Kurt Angle, and I don't high fly like Rey Mysterio. So why not cut my body up for the entertainment of others?
Hey, man, it works for you. You're selling out, right? So you're doing something.
That's been working so far.
I'd be remiss in saying this, but this series is brought to you in part by Canadian Deathmatch. The company as a whole, they're doing wonderful things. I'm not paid by them at all, and I keep reiterating this across the board. This is just a simple project that I've been working on with them and guys that have worked with them or through them. With that being said, man, you're going all over Ontario wrestling. I think you've gone into the States now too to do some wrestling. Like, yeah. And last time I spoke to you was just over a year ago. Tell me what your last year's been like, man.
Oh, my last year. I've been to the States a couple of times. Ruthless Pro Wrestling's King of the Kill. I've been able to be the non-tournament match for 2 years in a row, which was awesome. And last year I fought Hardcore Hillbilly, which was great. He's fantastic, and he's blowing up everywhere right now. So he's fantastic. It's cool to have been in the ring with him. Everything that Canadian Deathmatch does, this place called Hybrid here in Ontario, they're doing cool stuff with the guys from Pittsburgh and whatnot, the 880 guys. And I don't know, just pretty much that, and just like peppered throughout. Like I've been to IWS in Montreal where I fought Green Phantom. So like that's like the main promotion for hardcore wrestling in Canada, probably. It's been around for 26 years, and I got to face their biggest star. So I can't say much about that other than I'm pretty thankful for it. And, you know, I've got to fight Neil Diamond Cutter for my Blood on the Fur championship for Frantic Pro Wrestling. In that process, he gifted me his signature match, which is called the Shitstorm Death Match. And that's mine now. So nobody else can do it other than me.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been able to do one. I think promotions are afraid of it. But
now I don't know what it is. You want to elaborate a little bit more of what it entails?
A Shitstorm Death Match. Basically what it is you're provided a bucket worth of fuckery, an actual bucket in the middle of the ring for 2 minutes, and then at the end of a 2-minute interval, a new bucket of new stuff is introduced into the match, and that goes on for 3 to 4 rounds. And then you have the sudden death round, which usually entails something dangerous like glass or light tubes or something like that to be introduced. And then you just go until you can't. But the rounds, you can't pin or submit until the rounds are over. So
essentially war games, but a whole different style to it.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. Like Neil Diamond Cutter invented it himself. He had never lost one of those matches until I defeated him in Canada, in Washago, Ontario for the Blood on the Fur championship. And in that process, I was gifted that match. So it's like, I can't even describe like the actual honor behind it, but like it's pretty incredible. And the goggles I wear to the ring, the aviator goggles, they're from Neil Diamond Cutter. They're a gift from him as well. So that's really cool. He's been my favorite for a long time. So the fact that I even got to breathe the same air is pretty dope.
Dude, that's huge. I mean, you've been in this game, I think, just over 7 years doing this.
About that, yeah.
So, I mean, you're not a rookie, you're not a complete veteran as per se, but you're right there in the thick of it, and being handed these. Like, you are a veteran in the sense for what deathmatch is, but I mean, like in the sense of wrestling as a whole, you're not. You're like right there, right? You're in the prime of your career.
I would say that like my career started in 2020. Like I would say that like really started, even though I trained to be a wrestler in 2013, and I have had matches under different names and stuff like that for 13 years or whatever it's been. My actual real career started in 2020 as that Kyle.
The legacy of Kyle begins in 2020. Okay.
Absolutely. So like, I gained relationships and like I know people from back then, and like guys I trained with are doing incredible things now and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm just grateful that I get to do what I get to do within the genre that I enjoy the most and have always enjoyed the most, because I've always been a hardcore wrestling fan, and deathmatch specifically probably. So it's just really cool, honestly.
As big as a pricking heel you are, I've never heard anybody speak bad on you or ill will towards you. When it's outside of wrestling, man, everybody respects you, and that's huge, especially in a smaller scene, right? Where in Ontario, to get a big name like yourself, I mean, the deathmatch guys themselves, Sean and Dylan and Maddie and Billy, they always speak highly of you, man. Like, there's never anything negative.
I think highly of those guys too. I'm really happy for everything that they've done. Like they didn't have to continue doing it after the first tournament, but they saw something in it, saw something in, me, saw something in the scene itself that they're accentuating. Like they say sometimes that like until they came around, or they may insinuate that until they came around, there hasn't been a deathmatch scene in Canada, but like I beg to differ. You know what I mean? Like, I believe it was 2024, I think, was their first foray into the business of deathmatch, at least. Something like that. Yeah. And, I personally have been doing it for 7 years, like you said, almost 6, whatever it is. But guys like Matt Cash and PD Skills and, Jesse Mack, these guys and girls have been doing it for a long, long time. Green Phantom, would probably be like the most recognizable, probably the most, tenured veteran of such hardcore nonsense in Canada, and it's somebody that I'm grateful and pretty fortunate to call a good friend in Green Phantom. So it's pretty cool to be among those names, of guys that came before, quote unquote, the scene started or whatever.
Right. You guys were a part of the underground before it was the mainstream, in a sense.
That's right.
So speaking of Green Phantom, my wife made a comment while we were at the show in Hamilton there at the Germania. She was like, he kind of gives me the Edge vibes. Like,
interesting.
And I was like, just I guess the way his voice sounds and stuff to her, just kind of cute, like Adam Copeland to her a little bit, right? And I was like,
baby.
I can see it, but like to me, and this is no disrespect to him, he's a legend in the game, as you said, and across Canada and all that. When I seen Green Phantom, I was like, I need Bubbles to come out and just fuck him up now. Green Bastard,
no, for real. Are you familiar with the Green Bastards from Parts Unknown, the tag team?
No,
hey, okay. So there's a tag team that started in New Frontier Pro Wrestling here in Ontario, and it's the Green Phantom and me, and we are the Green Bastards from Parts Unknown.
But that's just kind of where my head went with that. I was like, I need Bubbles out here to fuck him up. I have nothing negative to say about him. I've never actually had a one-on-one conversation with him. I have nothing. I've just seen what he can do in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
fantastic athlete, man. He does what he does, and he does it well.
Probably better than most. Yeah, he's just been doing it for 25 years. And like I said, with that IWS promotion, they've been around for 26 years, and he's been a pretty big part of them for this whole time. So he's actually holding their championship right now.
Huge.
Yeah.
The Crazy 8 match with Brian Samuels, that was the glass match, correct?
Correct, sadly.
Yeah, man, listen, if I'm on, I don't think that was a clean finish, man. I think you got out of it, but somehow Brian walked away with the win, which we need that record check, boys.
I gotta tell you, that referee Ken Kensington, he must have it out for me, because in the first Crazy 8, I didn't tap out and I didn't say I'd give up or anything. PD Skills just stapled a plastic bag to my face and then put a chokehold on me. And I was not giving up, but I guess Ken decided that because it was such a gruesome, like, disturbing scene, that he decided to just throw the match out. So technically, I never lost that one either in my mind. And in this instance, you know, I think I kicked out before 3. And there are some people that say that I did. But, you know, Brian Samuels ended up in the finals, even though those pictures of the 4 guys in the finals looks a little weird, because it's like, you know, some people say that Kyle should have been part of that. But, you know, the cards turn the way they do, as they say, you know.
Yeah, it seems a little trickery going on somewhere. Now, glass matches in themselves are just disastrous. And then you have the 2 elements of the mess maker and the no pocket man, Brian Samuels, into the mix, and then you just add a whole new mix to it, man. So tell me, what is your thought process going into like such a an environment like just a glass match?
I gotta tell you, because like when I got to the building, I was not in the best spirits. Like, you know, several people I'm good friends with, guys like KC War and Brandon St. James. Came all the way from Pittsburgh and whatnot, and I'm always ridiculously happy to see them. But you know, like when KC got there, he was expecting a hug from me, and I was kind of just sitting at the table, like with my, you know, head down and sunglasses on, you know, kind of just like contemplating the idea that I might inhale some glass, or, you know, get some stuck in me in a bad way, or, you know, I mean, I do care for Brian Samuels because he and I are good friends and we've trained together, and I've stayed at his house and eat dinner with his family and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a part of me that's afraid that he might get hurt, being is that's how it's his first time touching broken glass in a match. Obviously it's not my first time, but the mindset is you know, it's complicated, because yes, I've been through it before several times. I have several scars on my body from broken glass, and you know, I'm always a little bit afraid that something might go wrong. So it took a little bit for me to kind of get into the zone and get into the correct spirits in order to, you know, get in the ring. I was assuming that they were going to start off with the glass match like they did at the first Crazy 8. So the idea that we had to wait, you know, for several other matches to go on before we went out there was also sort of troubling to me, because like I really just wanted to get it over with. And you know, I obviously was confident that I was going to win, you know, but maybe that confidence got me in the end. Who knows? Maybe the, you know, the trepidation got me in the end. Who knows? But I think that it was probably just the referee trying to fuck on me.
So like I came down with my wife and my 2 oldest children. My oldest son very much does not like your manager in Will Carroll.
Oh, why not? He's fantastic.
I don't know what is it about or what have you, but he is just absolutely does not like Will. And I don't know. It's like, all respect. Like I understand with Will, like his voice might hit people the wrong way and stuff like that. I think that's what it did for my kid. And so, me being the great dad I am, I actually had Will do this for me. It's just to annoy my child because he doesn't.
That's fantastic.
Shout out to Will Carroll for that beautiful thing.
Yes,
man. TFC is doing wonderful things across the board. You guys are a great faction, and you're fucking up the scene at a different rate than most factions are seeing nowadays. What is it like having a faction to work with after being a standalone for as long as you were, man?
Well, it's pretty incredible because like we're basically like the punk NWO, but like if the NWO was part of like other promotions and all over the world, you know what I mean? Like we have a guy in Australia called Xavier Black. We have Maria Belmont from Quebec. We have Texas Terrifier Baracho from Texas. We got Deep Beat Cooper and Brandon St. James are based in Pittsburgh right now. Tuco Montez in California. Chuck Stein is like the owner of Detroit. Like he is the man there. And he's our OG. And we've only ever kicked out one member, which was Hardcore. But we had a good reason for that because he decided that he wanted the fans' adulation more than he wanted to be part of our, collective mission statement, so to speak. So, there's that. And, I don't know. I'm probably even like missing a member right now. There's like 8 of us or 9 of us now. And, it's incredible just being part of a family that like, even though I've never seen or met a lot of these guys, I still consider them like brothers. You know what I mean? I've never met D Beat Cooper, but he and I are great friends. And, Texas Terrifier Baracho, I love him to death. I've never met him. You know what I mean? So it's just really a fantastic thing that Will has put together. And, Chuck Stein's our captain. And, everybody else, we're all just trying to like spread the word of punk rock to those wrestling fans that may not have, discovered that they have a love for such a thing. And we have, punk fans that, we don't know that they're secretly wrestling fans. They don't know that they're wrestling fans yet until they see TFC. And then they're like, oh, fuck, we like these guys. These are our guys, and that's what we're looking for. And that's what we're trying to build.
Hell yeah, and you're doing a great job at it. I mean, I've only seen a small portion of the faction itself, but what you're describing, I think the family element and stuff, it's hard to come by because the loyalty nowadays isn't there. But it's good when you have that loyal camaraderie with people.
Absolutely.
Like I said, when I spoke to you at the Germania, man, that theme song, it sounded like our good friend Phil and his band, Burning Bridges. But you told me, no, that is not it. And I was severely kind of red in the face of that or pie in the face, if you will, because that's what it sounded like, man. And but like I said to you, man, you got to talk to them and maybe get Burning Bridges to do a theme for you at one point. Maybe I'm live one time.
I'd love that. I'd love for them to cover it, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. I did pay for that theme song to be made at 2022, I believe. I was using just a random song about Kyle punching drywall that I found on YouTube for like a long time, and for like 2 years or whatever. And then I discovered a band called Oh the Horror. And they're like part of Magic Ninja Entertainment. The guys like Twisted and like, Boondocks and Blazy Dead Homie, the Juggalos, essentially. The ones that don't work for ICP and Psychopathic Records anymore, which I'm a huge fan of them as well. Don't get me wrong. For those of you listening that may be Juggalos, whoop, whoop. But like, yeah, so they were part of Magic Ninja Entertainment, and I discovered them through, their collaborations with guys like Twisted and whatever, right? And I started listening to their albums, and I fell in love with the one singer called Grady Finch. He's such an incredible voice in my mind. And I took a shot in the dark one night, and I decided to email Oh the Horror and see if they would do just like a few seconds worth of a beginning part for a theme song. Like I wasn't looking for anything other than like a line or two from them or something, like some sort of like an intro, like 10 seconds or something. Right. And, and Grady Finch, to his credit, I guess he was having car trouble and he was stuck in his studio for like a day and a half or whatever it was. So he decided that he would just do an entire a chorus to a song, essentially, is what it is. And like he equated it to like what like a sitcom intro, essentially. And like, you know what I mean? A catchy sitcom intro almost. And So I was lucky that he was willing to even produce the music and do the voice and get everything like that. And I think the entire thing itself is only like 41 seconds or something. But I did loop it myself. Like it's like 1:21 now because I looped it. But it's so catchy, and it's the riff itself is built for me, so like that's fantastic. And like my ego goes crazy whenever I hear it. So essentially what it is that Kyle doesn't become that Kyle without the that Grady Finch intro.
But that's even awesome, right? Like you said, and a good pal of ours, Russ Ranson, he's very big on you got to take those chances, you got to shoot those shots. Had you not done that night, just randomly saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm throwing caution to the wind. What's the worst? I get ignored?
Yeah. Or I get like made fun of. Because I did tell him, I'm like, yo, like I'm a pro wrestler. Like, I don't know how you feel about that type of thing, but like, how they walk to the ring with music? Like, I'd love you guys to kind of, add something to it. And he's just like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like, you can have the rights to it and blah, blah, blah. And that'll be $500 USD. So essentially I ate ramen noodles and hot dogs for like 2 weeks straight and used like 2 weeks pay to pay for it. But
you at the time when you threw that message into the universe, he was at the right place at the right time. Unfortunately, in a sense, maybe down on his luck at that time with his vehicle, but everything just lined up for you, which now gives you the iconic theme that you come out to.
That's right. The stars aligned.
Oh yeah. And like I hope maybe in a future show, maybe you're doing a Sticky D's or Germania, and you could have maybe the boys of Burning Bridges cover that and girl.
Yes, of course.
Cover it and have play you live to the ring. I think that'd be huge, especially for your ego, knowing one of your childhood best friends plus a song that was covered by someone you absolutely love. Like that would be huge, man.
It's incredible. It's really like the idea of it is fantastic. If the stars can align in that way, like that'd be like Motorhead playing Triple H to the ring, or POD bringing out Rey Mysterio. You know what I'm saying?
But okay, I'll say this because you brought that part up. Motorhead WrestleMania 18 was absolutely terrible. I'm sorry, it just sounded bad. Maybe it was the acoustics of the Sky Dome, but it sounded bad.
Just the moment itself meant more than anything else.
It is brutal, which just sucks because they're such a great band. So let me ask. I know Phil, Phil, and I know you guys used to run these like e-feds back in the day and actual feds. If you and Phil go back, I don't know, 15 years ago, and you tell Phil, man, I'm doing this now professionally, do you believe it?
Yeah, honestly, because of the support that he has for me and did back then too, like I would imagine that he definitely would think that that's exactly what I was going to do, and I had such tunnel vision back then that there was no stopping me from at least trying to become a pro wrestler, because even in my years in high school, the 4 years in high school, I spent my intramural classes, like the ones you can pick. I picked like all the phys ed courses. I picked kinesiology because I wanted to know about the body and like, the bones and shit like that. And weight room, like to lift weights and get, my body in the right shape or whatever. And I also took 5 drama classes. Like you're only allowed to take 4, but I foregoed like a couple of spare classes in order to take a 5th drama course. Just so that I could be that much more ready. And, I did stage plays at the Academy Theater. I was the lead in plays at school, and like, I just wanted to get all the aspects of pro wrestling that I could ready for the time of actually starting wrestling school, which I decided I was definitely going to Squared Circle that used to be in North York at the time. They're not open anymore. But it was run by Rob Fuego, who's a guy from the original Sully's Gym in Toronto, like guys like Edge and Christian and those kind of guys. Rhino, or maybe not Rhino, but maybe Rhino. I'm not sure. They trained there and everything. So he's one of those original guys and had his own career, and then decided to open a school. So I trained there for two or 3 years, and then I got a little bit of training from a guy called Chris Garvin, who ran a school called Figure Four, and like I try to go anywhere I can. So I've been to Ground Zero in Rochester, New York, run by Colin Delaney and like Cloudy and Nick Ando and Chris Worthless and Maddock. Those guys are really cool. And I got that through Will Carroll. Like I got to be able to go there and train with those guys. And this school in Oshawa, Ontario called New Beginnings, I go there to practice still to this day. That's where Brian Samuels trained. He was the first graduate of that school.
The place in Rochester, it sounds familiar. Did Brody train there?
He didn't train there. Like the story that I've heard, and don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, is there was a training school and Brody went there and whatnot, and so did a bunch of these other guys that I mentioned before. But there was some sort of falling out between certain guys or whatever. So Ground Zero was built from the guys that decided to break off from that school. So okay. I'm not 100% sure. Do not quote me on that, but that's the story that I've heard.
Some lore you've heard, right? I got to ask him at the time of this recording. I haven't interviewed Will yet, and I plan to ask him this when I do speak to him. Has he met Brody Lee, considering they're both from the same area? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Will would go to every show that Rochester or the surrounding area had to offer. And that's why he even has an in with these guys to begin with, is he's been, a vehement supporter of independent wrestling in that area for multiple years. So he trains at Ground Zero too. Even though he's a manager, he still goes through all the drills and everything himself as well. So.
I mean, I've seen a couple bumps he's taken. I mean, you got to know what you're doing, right?
That's right.
Man, it's crazy. In those 6 years that Kyle has been going, have you felt like your promos and your style has evolved, or do you feel like you slowed down a bit? Like where do you put it? Not slowed down in that sense, but like, do you feel like you methodically pace things now as opposed to when you first started, where you're just go and now you're just like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and you're slower to do it?
Sort of. I'm like, I don't know. I had like issues with self-confidence and stuff like that, like my entire life, obviously. So when it comes to performing stuff like promos or anything like that, any kind of extra curricular content, you know what I mean, besides the actual wrestling, I was always very excited for, but I'm very particular about what I'm like. I would never shoot a car promo, you know what I mean, so to speak, where you're just kind of holding your phone in a car and there's no editing. You just kind of post it and it's like, I'm gonna be here at this time at this place fighting this guy, buy your ticket now, that's never been my I would rather not do that, I would rather stand in front of a graffiti wall, under an overpass and have a buddy of mine hold a camera and have an intro line, like some sort of, funny little thing to say, and have something cool to exit on, like whether I'm stomping on the camera or throwing a monster can against the wall or, driving away in a car, something cool. Like I would rather not do just a regular ass promo. So in that way, it's definitely evolved. But I don't know, because I don't do as much as I used to, because I used to be a little bit more liberal with how I kind of put myself out there. But it's that kind of thing also opens you up to ridicule. So I don't know. It's hard because whenever you put yourself out there for any sort of reason or any kind of, especially in pro wrestling, you open yourself up to judgment of some sort. So I've become a little bit more confident in that way. I know that I do more than other people, but obviously I'm not here to put anybody down, but I try to be exceptional when it comes to that sort of thing. rather than just being, you know, a guy that does it. Somebody like Matt Grant does an incredible job at promos. And like, I look at somebody like him, or I look at a guy like Bruce Thunderstein or somebody like that, who, you know, they put special effort into their promos that other people don't. And I try to, you know, hold myself to a higher standard, if that makes sense, just to help myself. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with being better or doing anything like that. I feel better about it if I put more effort in.
Right. And then to switch things over to the in-ring stuff, do you feel like you've changed that pace a little bit because now you're so far in that you're not going, oh, I'm just going to throw you through whatever the fuck I see, but now it's more like I'm still gonna, but now we're going to do it at a different pace?
Absolutely. Like, you know, I've come into my own a lot in the last few years, just being able to, you know, apply certain things to different audiences and stuff like that. Like New Beginnings does shows in Oshawa, and they have like semi-regular shows that the same fans kind of show up to each and every time. And that's been like maybe 3 or 4 years since that's been a thing. And I've been involved in almost every show that they've done. So stuff like that, I can go to those shows and wrestle regular matches rather than, you know, hardcore matches or something like that. Right now I'm in a tag team. I'm actually part of their tag team champions with my partner, Case and Riley. We are green tea because he's from England and I'm green. So we just defended
teams that you've got going, man. This is great.
Yes. I'm a fan of it. We have a lot of fun. And the idea that I'm able to kind of do these styles of wrestling that aren't death matches is pretty cool, or like that don't involve weapons or whatever. Like I like to say that I'm a wrestler that does death matches, but I'm not, you know, like I prefer to think of myself as a deathmatch wrestler that can actually wrestle if, you know, if it calls upon me to do so, you know what I mean? So I have my own move set now. I think I have pretty confident in, you know, my ability to kind of wrestle for real, you know, and not just kind of hit guys with stuff. And even if I am hitting guys with stuff, like you said, you know, I got like my own kind of way of doing it. And, you know, I emulate a lot of my, you know, my favorites, so to speak. Like I try not to take moves that guys do as their signature moves, but like I'll see Neil Diamond Cutter do something cool and I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing that. Or Green Phantom, you know, the way that he stomps on a guy and claps while he does it and, you know, stomps around the guy. Like I've taken that, you know what I mean? And instead of dropping an elbow, I'll drop a leg drop instead, you know, just to add my own little spin on it. And I like doing that. Like if I wrestle a hero of mine or somebody notable, I like to kind of absorb some of like a part of their moveset and kind of put a spin on it myself. And that, you know, it becomes like a talisman, so to speak. It's like, oh, I've been here and now I have this, you know?
But like, there's guys like yourself and Wade Allen. I'm still getting familiar with a few of the guys that I met recently as well. But the two of you are changing maybe the way people view deathmatch wrestlers, because you're not just all about the blood and the gore. You're also showing that you have a technical side that can get in the ring with any normal wrestler and still go.
Oh, of course.
It's a huge compliment to your own skill, because like I alluded to earlier, getting into like a glass match, you have to prepare your mind mentally for that. Like you do in any match, but that's a whole different element.
Oh yeah. Now there's a lot of guys that call themselves deathmatch wrestlers or say that they've been in death matches or whatever, that guys like me or guys like Matt Cash, or, you know, we might look at them and think to ourselves, they don't know what they're talking about. Like they don't know what it really means to be, you know, in a real death match like that, where you're scared. You know what I mean? Like there's a part of you that thinks you might not come out of it the same way you went in, type of thing. And, you know, I don't want to name names, obviously. These guys are doing what they're doing and they're doing great and everything. And, you know, they'll achieve what they're trying to achieve one day and whatever. So, and in the grand scheme of things, my opinion means nothing. So, but like, it's fine. You know what I mean? I consider myself as somebody who has been in death matches, and, you know, some guys haven't.
what you just said there is your opinion means nothing. But that's not necessarily true, because somebody might be listening, and your words might be gospel to them, and then they take that forward, right?
Yeah.
So your opinion is yours, of course, but don't say it's not nothing, because you never know who's quite listening, right?
I suppose that's fair. Like a guy like Rush Rancid, I'm a fan of his because he's an actor. You know, Patrick McNeil is an actor, and he's been in one of my favorite shows of all time, you know. So I respect him as a person, just being able to meet him and the fact that he's such a cool dude. But like, he respects me because he's been watching me for a long time and thinks that I'm an inspiration. He's said these words to me. I still don't understand them. I don't understand how somebody could think that way. But the idea that he has and he's gotten something out of my career that has benefited him is pretty incredible and pretty special to me. So if anybody's listening that is getting something out of what I'm doing, I can't disrespect them by saying, you know, anything bad about myself or whatever. But I always want to be better. I don't believe that any pro wrestler has ever done learning or done training or done, you know what I mean? I feel like we can all grow from where we're at, no matter where we're at. You know what I mean?
And that's right across life too. And ironically, and the way the order of these episodes go, Rush is actually the interview before you.
Oh.
And we speak a little bit about you too. So it's cool. But like in life too, it's not just wrestling, right? Where you gotta do that. I meant to ask you, because you said you trained in different places in Toronto. Have you gone to Santino Morella's school yet in Mississauga?
I haven't. No, that's called Battle Arts.
That's what I remember. I knew it was Battle something, and I didn't want to fuck it up. So
yeah. No, that's called Battle Arts. I know a few guys that have come out of there, and that's pretty awesome and everything. But when I trained at Squared Circle, I was able to kind of I stayed at Phil's parents' house. Like his mom and stepdad allowed me to stay in their spare room while I was training to be a wrestler, and I was fortunate to have that, and I don't have such opportunities anymore, and I definitely don't have a way to get to Toronto 3 or 4 times a week or whatever would, like a real, to give it a real shot or something at a place like Battle Arts. I would prefer to at least go at least once or twice a week. You know what I mean? If I was to do that and invest in it and whatever, but. And they have several schools in Toronto now. There's a place called New Wave now that's run by a guy called Gabriel Fuerza and a few other guys and girls that are fantastic, incredible wrestlers that I've known for 13 years because we all trained at Squared Circle together, like a lot of us did. So something like that is incredible to me. The idea that I was able to be in the same class as guys that are now training other wrestlers, that's incredible to me. I have the utmost respect for that. And so I would want to put real, actual, genuine effort into going regularly if I was to invest in going to a different school. So to me, going to New Beginnings whenever I can in Oshawa, that's what I can do right now. If I was to drive or something like that, because I don't even have a license. I'm actually terrified of driving. So the idea of, one day getting my license and driving and being able to go to Toronto once or twice a week, I would definitely, do that, or go to Mississauga, which is where Battle Arts is. I would invest the time and I would do that.
So you go to New Beginnings, which is in Oshawa, Ontario. Shout out to them. I'm going to have to check that out when I'm down there sometime. I have family that lives that way, so I'm going to have to check it out. Yeah. Also, I got to buy Brian a beer or something. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But have you thought about opening up your own school? I know, before we get into that conversation, understand that the economy sucks right now. Everybody's fucking fucked in every which different way. But if you were given the chance, would you open up and teach people, or is that just something you don't see yourself doing?
If I was to do anything in that way, I would have to wait a long time probably, because in my opinion, somebody who's a coach for wrestling has to be an exceptional wrestler. You know what I mean? A guy like Gabriel Fraser, exceptional wrestler. You know what I mean? Genuinely exceptional. A guy like Shane Saber, genuinely exceptional wrestler. So guys like that opening up a school makes absolute sense. Somebody like me, if I was to pop into a school every once in a while and maybe lead the class once or twice, you know what I mean, or something like that, or offer my own not coachings or anything like that, but like if anybody had a question, you know what I mean, I would answer it honestly and then try to do my best, which is what I've done at New Beginnings, which is, you know, I consider myself not part of the coaching staff of New Beginnings, but I'm one of the guys that comes in that's been a wrestler for longer than a lot of other guys have. So if anybody has any questions about promos or a way to do certain things that I know how to do, you know, I love to be that guy. But when it comes to actually opening a school and being the head guy, I don't see that being a thing for me, at least not for the next like 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right. And I didn't necessarily mean, hey, go start one tomorrow. It was just a question of thought. But like, I think maybe you're onto something with the way you said that is maybe you're not the guy to take the lead in opening up a building and stuff, but maybe you're the guy that's a coach and be like, okay, well, this is what I do. This is my experience. This is my realm. And you can teach them, and then there are, you know, you have maybe your traditional sense, and then you have guys like you who could teach them in the craft of deathmatch wrestling and how to do things. Which
I feel like a lot of guys jump into death matches or jump into hardcore matches without the proper kind of coaching or certain ways to do things that make things mean more, or the correct way to maybe do something that they kind of just think is like a way, like they kind of just think happens just extemporaneously, but there is actually a trick to it, or there is like a good way to do it that, you know, like, cause like I said about Neil Diamond Cutter, Green Phantom, PD Skills, Matt Cash, all of these guys have taught me things that I still use to this day, that if I didn't have them in my life, I would not be where I am or have accomplished anything really. So, you know,
I look at guys like, and this is no disrespect because they're fucking hella athletes, all three of them that I'm about to mention. When I look at guys like Matt Cash, PD, and Wade, they're big boys, right?
Sure,
and
yeah.
when I came to Crazy 8, and Wade especially, and I told him this when I interviewed him earlier in the season here, he inspired me to want my brain, something in my brain's like, oh, I want to do this. Then I remembered it's a lot of work. Not that I'm scared of the work, but like there's a lot more to it than just getting in the ring, taking a light tube, going through glass, going through a TV, going through a door. There's way more work to it that I don't think my mind can comprehend.
I mean, sure. I mean, even like a guy like Wade who kind of like went into death matches or in this case, hardcore wrestling or whatever, like, you know, he had been a wrestler since I like I said, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure somewhere around 2016, 2015, maybe something like that. He'd been in it, you know, for an exceptional amount of time already as a wrestler himself. And so, you know, to travel into this realm, it doesn't take, you know what I mean? It takes a special kind of person to even want to risk the things that we do. So for somebody to kind of, like, you know, excuse the pun, but for somebody to wander into such a, you know, a genre, it takes a lot of balls, you know what I mean? But it also, there's a certain amount of respect that has to be paid to the genre itself and those who came before us. And I do believe that sometimes pro wrestlers who have an interest in doing death matches and stuff like that, there are certain things that are overlooked. There's a certain ego that can be built, you know, there's a certain a way of thinking that other people don't necessarily have. Sometimes you can rub people the wrong way. Sometimes, you know what I mean? But, you know, to me, it's all about respecting the art form in and of itself. You know, pro wrestling is pro wrestling. So, you know, it doesn't matter if there's a light tubes involved or if there's, you know, tables, ladders, chairs, whatever, you know, it all deserves its own respect. You know, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean?
Like pro wrestling.
Like I respect Wade. I like him. I've been in the ring with him several times. And, but you know, there's stuff that guys like him that are kind of just getting their feet wet, you know. There's mistakes that they can make and there's certain, you know, steps that they can miss, you know, and everybody gets where they're going eventually, and it'll be the same for him and Rush Rancid and Brian Samuels and all these guys. It'll be the same for all of them.
Hell yeah. I'd be remiss if I said, again, I came down to Crazy 8. I watched you perform live for the first time, along with many others on the card watching for the first time. My introduction to live and in-person deathmatch wrestling was Tyler Arrow versus, Brandon St. James. Hell of a way to be introduced to it live and in person. Again, yes. Watching clips and seeing it live, two different things. Two 100%. Very fucking different things. The atmosphere is completely different.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to say is, and this is a huge credit to all of you, every one of you on the card, whether it's the crew or just the wrestlers themselves, you guys were extremely safe. And given what the elements are in those kind of matches, I don't know how you guys did it, but I don't know how you guys left there not in fucking body bags.
Well, like I said, the guy like Tyler Arrow, who is part of that group of guys that I talked about before that have been doing this for years and years, even before Canadian Deathmatch became a thing. He's in that class as well. And he's one of the most exceptional wrestlers that I've seen foray into death matches, and he's going to go far because he's an incredible wrestler, but he's also absolutely crazy. Like he knows the risks to his own body because he's experienced it, but he still does it. You know what I mean? And there are people that would think that means that he's, not too right in the head or something like that, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that he's, a young man still, and, he doesn't want to be in a wheelchair at any point in his life or anything, but he's willing to risk that in order to give the art form the proper respect that it deserves.
Fair. I mean, I got, again, as of this recording, I haven't interviewed him yet. I have him this week, and he's earlier in the season. It's going to be, I'm sure, a phenomenal interview with him.
Yes.
Now, I have said this across the board so far, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, but I feel like Canadian Deathmatch has kind of rejuvenated the indie scene in Ontario a little bit.
It's run so incredibly well, like in terms of promotions that are run by guys that I've been a part of or even once or twice been to. It's exceptional, the amount of care that's put into the backstage aspects of Canadian Deathmatch. It truly is. And anybody who has anything bad to say about it, just based on their own opinion of deathmatch wrestling itself, if they were to see what goes into actually building these shows and what these guys are doing and the level of professionalism that they're showing, they would be impressed by that. Like even the worst critic would be impressed by what these guys are able to accomplish professionally.
I've seen, kind of like I said, I've now, maybe it's because I'm following you guys more or paying attention more. I mean, my life's crazy as it is. But it sent it was like an IV straight to the vein with bringing them in, because they're also bringing in talent that maybe hasn't been up in Ontario before to do things. And they're being seen by the companies in Montreal and all around Ontario. And then suddenly they're wrestling on those cards. So I feel, and again, maybe it's biased because I've watched Canadian Deathmatch grow from the infancy up, but I feel like it's rejuvenated the Ontario scene, considering there's a lot of independents in Ontario that just fall flat on their face.
Oh, absolutely. And even those that are still going to this day, some of them are I don't want to say they're like inside jokes, you know what I mean, or something like that. But there are certain promotions where it's just they're, nobody wants to ever turn their nose up on anything or disrespect anybody for trying to do something, like pro wrestling. But it's the amount of effort and the amount of professionalism and the put into it that deserves the respect and everything. And some places deserve more respect than others based on that. You know what I mean? That's like that in all aspects of pro wrestling, whether it's, indie wrestling or even TV wrestling. Some places just try a little bit harder, and for that, they earn more respect,
Or they just have a little bit more money to hush people up. One of the two.
That too, that helps.
I don't want any names when I ask this question. I've been asking this question, and I don't want names. I don't want companies. But is there any wrestlers or companies that you look at, oh, hey, Kyle, come wrestle for us, and you go, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's happened to me several times where even a place that I genuinely would have wanted to wrestle for or something, I go and I do it, and then I have actual regrets. You know what I mean? And whether it's not being paid or whether it's not being given maybe the respect that I would think that maybe I've earned at this point or something. Maybe I'm not sure. Like, that's a weird thing too, because it's like, well, nobody's earned anything or nobody deserves anything or whatever. But you expect certain things, a certain level of professionalism, and then when that falls so low below any kind of bar that you may or may not have set, there's a lot of disappointment there. And then wrestlers themselves, there's certain wrestlers that I won't go near, you know what I mean? Or like I hear that I'm maybe on the same show even as certain guys or whatever, and there's a part of me where I breathe a sigh, you know what I mean? Like a disappointed sigh, or a lot of it comes from just experience over the last like 13 years of knowing the scene and knowing people in it. But even in the last 7 years or whatever, I've been disappointed by promoters. I've been disappointed by wrestlers, promotions themselves that may have had, a higher, I would have expected more from them, but then, I've been disappointed by them. So that's a real thing that ends up happening. And it's like, nobody deserves to have their shit called out or whatever, but like, if you didn't get the correct training, or if you have a certain ego that makes you hard to work with or something like that, or as a promoter, you're just not very professional in terms of how you treat talent. Like, you kind of treat them as a commodity that's just going to be there, that you don't have to put any kind of professionalism or care into. Some of it's super disappointing. But I've also been incredibly, it's been the opposite as well, where I've been proven wrong. You know what I mean? I would have like, a surface level opinion of something, and then my mind is completely changed upon, experiencing it for myself. So stuff like that is definitely hard. But some people deserve the a level of disrespect. Some people you need to give people a chance. You can't just assume. You have to give people a chance.
Fair enough. I just remembered as you were talking there, when I interviewed you on Spotlight with Shadow, and we had talked about a deathmatch experience where the glass was involved and you were afraid it went down your throat.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's what kind of goes through your mind, like especially at the crazy age, just experiencing that again.
Absolutely. That's the biggest fear that I have in all of deathmatch wrestling. If I happen to get a thumbtack down my throat, or the head of a thumbtack breaks off inside me, and I end up with like a metal in there, and you can get infections, really bad infections like that. And the idea of like a staple being put in your forehead or something, and then pulling that staple out and having a piece of the staple still stuck inside you, like you can die from that. You know what I mean? Like that's real. And so there are just certain risks that I don't think even some wrestlers are aware of until kind of they're scared by the idea of it happening. And that's happened to me several times where I'll be fine because I've seen all these guys do it 100 million times and everything's going to be great or whatever. But like, I got my first stitches because of deathmatch wrestling. I have anxiety worse than I ever have in my whole life because of it. I started taking pills for anxiety just this year. And I quit smoking weed because the anxiety is just way too much for me now. And I have like I don't have lung issues, but I'm scared of like something happening to my lungs, like more than I ever have. I'm scared of, my brain, there being something wrong in there. There's just a certain level of personal responsibility that you become aware of when you start putting your body through this sort of thing. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be slowing down or doing anything different or anything like that. I just, like you said before about we're being very safe. Like, I pride myself on being the safe, like very, very safe. Like, nobody's ever gone to the hospital because of any match they've been in with me. Nobody's ever gotten an infection or, been hurt to any sort of degree past what, is expected of certain matches, but I consider myself super safe. And in that way, people have been safe with me. There's other people that are a little bit more reckless than others. I've been given concussions, and scares for, infections and stuff like that. But I go to the doctor regularly. I'm a big proponent of, go and see your doctor, get blood tests. I've gotten blood tests every month for the last few years to make sure that I'm clean and not spreading anything that nobody wants and whatever. So I don't know. There's just a little things that I've been taking care of myself a whole lot more. And that's been on the forefront of my mind ever since becoming more entrenched in deathmatch wrestling. And I encourage everybody that does it to definitely take care of their body and take care of their mind, because mental health is so important as well, because you really do get inside your own head with that sort of thing, and it can stop you sometimes from doing things that may advance your career, or it might even stop you from doing something that'll end your career. You know what I mean? So that part's important to me. So anybody listening that's thinking about that sort of thing, I encourage everybody to do it.
Now, as we're getting close to wrapping this up, I got to ask the question, in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Hopefully as a current or former Canadian Deathmatch champion. That's like my goal ever since I saw that belt revealed, the idea that it has those little name plates on it that whoever's champion gets their name etched onto it. The idea that would be my legacy in Ontario wrestling, not just deathmatch wrestling, but in Ontario. The idea that I was, good enough that I was able to win such a championship and have my name literally etched into history. I could retire happy after winning the Canadian Deathmatch Championship. And, winning the Crazy 8 tournament is something else. Maybe maybe in 5 years I've won that tournament and I have my name on that trophy. You know what I mean? Next to guys like PD Skills and Tyler Arrow and, God forbid, Matt Cash, or, somebody else that deserves to win that tournament. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I genuinely hope that even though there's lots of guys coming in that are new, I really want the guys that have been doing this for a long time, guys like Jesse Amato and everybody else that I've mentioned before. I didn't mention Amato's name, even though he's been very instrumental to my career. There's several people that have been instrumental to my career that sometimes I just forget to mention because I'm just, in the moment or whatever. But I want my name next to guys like that have really made an impact in making Canadian Deathmatch an actual real thing. You know what I mean?
You want to crawl so the future can run.
Absolutely. And I'm willing to do that. I'll crawl on stumps that used to be my legs if it means that the deathmatch world or the hardcore wrestling world of Ontario and in Canada, as a whole, is respected and looked at as something cool in the world, like a Japan or like an England or like an Australia that have exceptional deathmatch talent and really incredible guys that have come out of such places that are respected around the world. I really want to be one of those guys that's looked at as one of the cornerstones of such a thing like that. So that's my 5 years, hopefully. And hopefully I'm not sitting in a hospital bed or a wheelchair or, God forbid, a damn grave in 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'm going to wrap it up. But what is one match, whether it be deathmatch or even just traditional, that you would like to participate in before you finally hang it up?
I want to face Akira. because I've been watching Akira since 2020. I love him as a wrestler, as a deathmatch wrestler. I respect him incredibly. I know that he doesn't do that anymore. He says that he's into doing hardcore matches still, so I can probably maybe get something like that out of him. But even if it's just a straight up traditional wrestling match, I know that I'll learn so much from him. And I'll be a better wrestler because I was able to be in the ring with him. So it's definitely Akira. I would love to have that as a match. Just because I know I'm going to be a better wrestler after it. And in terms of like being like in death matches specifically, a guy like Masada or a guy like Necro Butcher, like an OG, like a genuine, real OG of deathmatch wrestling. If I can be in the ring with one of them and earn their respect, then I would love that. You know, a guy like Neil Diamond Cutter, I was super fortunate to be able to be in the ring with him, and even more fortunate that I'm able to call him a friend. So, you know, and even somebody like him looks at guys like Necro and Masada and Jun Kasai and all these guys. He looks at them as guys that are his heroes and stuff like that. So, you know, I want that. I want that upper echelon. I want the respect of the guys that came before me. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Now, I'm gonna give you a big compliment, and I think it's true, and I think most people will agree with me that when it comes to Canadian Deathmatch, the company, and that Kyle, you are definitely one of the pillars that have helped build that promotion.
Thank you. Thank you.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle, I am so gracious and grateful for your time. You're always a pleasure to talk to you. I can't wait to see you perform live again, you and everybody. I always enjoy chatting with you. It's always fun. You're not short answered. You're long winded, and I love that about you.
Some interviewers like that, some don't.
You're not stiffing on the answers, and I love that. And for everything that it's worth, I hope nothing but the success and everything comes true for you in the future that you have planned. And I can see you accomplishing all your goals.
Thank you. Thank you. And yours as well. I hope to see you still in 5 years doing this cool broadcasting nonsense, as well as I'm still doing the cool deathmatch nonsense.
And I'm here to do whatever I can to help do what I can.
Right on, brother.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been brought to you by Canadian Deathmatch. Again, not paid affiliate, not being told to say this. This is just me supporting them because they support me, and that's what you do. But ladies and gentlemen, make sure to support your indies. Make sure to support that Kyle. You see his gear, you see his merch, you see his stickers. Fuck, I don't even care. You want an autograph? Make sure you give him at least $5. Like, make sure not just stiffing him with a hot dog and a handshake. And make sure you support him. Make sure you support all my indie friends. Make sure they become your friends. Make sure you're showing love to every independent wrestler and company that you can, as long as they're on the up and ups. Don't be sketchy. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Shadow. That's that Kyle, and thank you for watching the Shadowsphere. Good night.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.